Yo, what's up, guys? In today's quick video, I just want to cover our media buying strategy going into 2023, what that looks like, what we're building, and what you can do to implement this if you're a D2C founder, how you should operate your media buying strategy if you're an agency, how you should structure your media buying campaigns. Either way, right? This is the simple, fast method in which you can implement and see a lift in performance. And before I dive into specific, I literally kid you not. We had a client we signed on roughly like 25 days ago, in which we took the return on ad spend from a 0.44 to a 1 to like 0.05 in the matter of like less than a full month, literally by just updating this media buying strategy and retesting their own creatives with this said media buying strategy. So if you follow me on Twitter, thechrishrdz, this is where I drop all my gems and threads and so on and so forth. So as you can see here, this is before. This was from the was that November 12th to December 12th. The client was at 0.45 ROAS, 8K spend in TikTok ads, 3.8K in return on total conversion value. And then we updated a couple of things, and we saw from the 12th of December to now, the 12th of January, 1.02 ROAS, 19K in total TikTok ad spend, and the conversion value was 20K. So I see a lot of people try to overcompensate the media buying structure, especially for TikTok, right? With Facebook, it's different. You can have more of a top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of the funnel approach. With TikTok, you can't really retarget as much just because it depends on frequency, right? Majority, what I'm seeing from frequency from major audiences is that it's already a 1 to 2. So this is why we break this up into 3 stages. And with retargeting, you can test it out, but I haven't seen any prominent results as of yet. So this is mainly just our kind of 3-stage process. So pretty simple. If I look at stage 1, audience testing, this is where we pretty much title our creatives or our campaigns on TikTok is express media, stage 1, and then the audiences, right? The reason why we do this is for organization purposes. So we can go into the account, look at stage 1, how's it performing compared to stage 2, compared to stage 3, allows us to just set everything up in motion and it's organized, right? That's the biggest key point, organization. Now, when it comes to the ad groups is simply your audience you want to target, right? So in stage 1, we're simply audience testing while we're keeping the creatives identically the same. So for us in a given month, we might produce anywhere from 45 to 90 total testable ads. Pretty much it goes anywhere from 7 unique videos to 15 unique videos in a given month. From there, we create minimum 6 variations per one video, so that when we're running these ad campaigns, we might put together 4, let's say it's storyboard. We have, for one creator, we have like 5 storyboards or 4 storyboards, right? One storyboard, for example, has all these variations in it. So we might, for ad group, let's say for the first round of campaign testing, we might do one specific storyboard and have like 4 or 5 ad creative variations running in this single campaign and keep it the same, right? And then that's for our first stage, our first launch of testing. Then we might go into the next round of audience testing to where, okay, now we're going to test storyboard 2 of this set creator. Let's see how these data points correlate, right? So the main thing we're doing is, depending on the AOV, we have each ad group daily budget set to that 1x AOV, right? For example, so all we need is one campaign to identically, essentially just break even, right? When we have that kind of return and then we let it run for another day, and we see more than one purchase, then we know, okay, this audience is deemed the winner. Now we can go further, right? Because what I've seen before in the past with TikTok is you can have an AOV budget set lower than the average AOV, and you try to duplicate these campaigns and scale it. Well, TikTok doesn't maintain the consistency from that at scale simply by the number adjustments. It can't spend at a higher rate for whatever reason, right? We've seen issues. So when we do 1x AOV, it allows us to scale way quicker, right? If you're an agency, right, you have to test depending on where you're at and how much budget you have to work with. You have to look at media buying between 2 different concepts. Either you pay with time to test each single variable and you get data back on a slower time frame. For example, you might test one creative and you're working with the lower budget. Well, then you have to wait for a couple more days, like anywhere from 5 to 7 days before you can really make final decisions. Whereas if you have more of a budget, right, you can literally just run these tests you can run more of these tests for more creatives to get data back faster, to then you can use brute force. And let's say in a given week, you already have 3 winners from your previous test. Now you're scaling, and now you're using brute force to now see a positive return, right? So for me, I typically like to push as hard as possible, keeping that depending on the client's tolerance, because from an agency perspective, right, they're hiring us to get results. And the faster we get results, well, the faster they're able to now have more of a profitability to then reinvest longer term for their business, right? So that's the main thing in this performance game. I like to operate very, very fast, and if we have more spend, well, as mentioned from that case study I showed you guys, the return is there. So, for example, in stage 1, audience testing, I know it's going on a bit of a tangent, but we have 3 different structures. So we have suggested targeting, or you can pretty much frame this out to be audience targeting. Doesn't matter, or based off what you go in the TikTok ad group, and it can automatically just set your own targets, and you can just let that run. Doesn't matter. And then you want to test broad targeting, and then you want to test interest targeting. So, for example, in the stage 1 campaign, you have all of these 3 ad groups firing off, and then here the creative sort of pipeline is you have ideally anywhere from 5 to 3 of all the identical creatives in said ad group, right? Each ad group gets 1x AOV, and here you're setting an ACO, letting the TikTok pixel pick and allocate budget for whichever creative is going to get the most results possible. And for example, you let this run for a day. Ideally, each creative should get anywhere from 1.5x to 2x AOV before you cut the campaign. For example, right, if you're making decisions on a daily kind of timeline, and you're spending less than, let's say, 10K a day in ad spend, right? Well, then your decisions, it's going to take longer. For example, one campaign might be shit for the first day. You look at day number 2, and then the results get better, right? So this is where you just want to let this run for, I'd say, anywhere from 2 to 3 days before you make your final decisions, because you never know. You might have a winner, just need a more spend. Okay, for example, now this is for the first stage testing. After we go through our audience targeting, the KPIs we're looking for is pretty simple. If a campaign is showing a 1-to-1 ratio in regards to KPIs, well, pretty much, and that is consistent for 2 to 3 days, then we for sure know, okay, out of this testing, we know, okay, this audience is pretty much deemed the winner. So now we can take that winning audience and go further into, okay, now which creative is going to deliver consistent results, right? So for example, let's say we run the same exact test. We look at suggested targeting, and we say, okay, suggested targeting is the winner. Now we move into stage 2 of creative testing. So now, for example, this is how we set up the campaign. And let's say suggested targeting was the winner. So now we're going to test creatives very, very further in depth. So the suggested targeting campaigns are going to be the same. We just duplicate them 5 times. And now we're just individually testing each said creative, right? To see, okay, where's the results? What can we use to really drive up spend? So the ad group in regards to budget is going to stay the same, 1x AOV. And we let this run for 1.5 to 2x AOV per creative. If there's no return, then we kill it. And then we just regroup and relaunch stage 1 testing. If we have a potential winner meaning that we see above the break-even CAC, and we want to see, okay, this is consistent over a 1 to 2 day period. Now we know, okay, this creative is the winner. This is the audience winning. And we might even have 2 to 3 creatives that are winners from this initial test in stage 2. Now we move on to stage 3, where we're pretty much just focused on scaling. So now we have the winning audience. Now we set this to ACO budget, and now we have all the winning creatives from stage 2 testing. And we're bumping up the ad group budget from 1x AOV to now we might increase it to 3 to 5x AOV for that daily spend. So for example, let's say we're spending $100 here. We might bump this up to anywhere from $300 to $500 a day in spend. And then we do the same process of monitoring KPIs, right? The more budget you have and the more you're spending on a daily basis, well, the faster you're going to make decisions. The less spends, I would say sub 10K a month, well, then you're going to have to ideally let these run for 2 to 3 days before you can finalize your decisions. Now, the caveat to this is it's a give or take with media buying, because, of course, you want to cut your losses as fast as possible. But on top of that, you also want to give it a sufficient amount of time to accumulate data, because you might never know. You might have a winner just the first day was just, for whatever reason, the algorithm didn't optimize. But the more you spend, the more you're going to optimize. There's also a caveat to that. People say there's a testing phase with each new ad group you test. Ideally, you want to get 50 conversions to get out of that learning phase, and then you're going to see your results stabilize. Now, there's things to keep in account, but if you have a winner predominantly on TikTok, you're going to know that within the first 48 to 72 hours, just based off data points. The way we kind of look at the metrics is from a whole funnel perspective. So we're going to look at the cost per click, the CPM, the click-through rates. We're going to look at the cost per landing page view. We're going to look at, okay, how many people from who clicked on the landing page, how many are they adding to cart, how many are initiating checkout, how many are completing purchase. If we see a ratio where there's a 50% drop off from clicking onto the landing page to actually viewing the landing page, well, then we know, okay, maybe the landing page isn't optimized. If we're seeing a cost per landing page view above $10 or $5, we know, okay, there's a post-click issue, right? That's how we determine if it's a creative issue or if it's a post-click issue. And then we go to the client and say, hey, look, we recommend we need to tweak these post-click variables in order to lower the CPA for initial CAC. But all in all, this is our media buying strategy. But as an agency, you can't just rely on media buying anymore. You can't just rely on creatives, right? You have to be somewhat of a growth consultant to look at the whole entire sales funnel in its entirety, optimize the creatives, optimize the post-click, optimize the offers, because those small tweaks is what's going to initially lower your CPA at scale. So it's very important that you look at these whole entire variables and you make determinations on these said variables, because that's what's going to affect performance longer term, right? If you have a tweak in the offer, literally we've seen it before where the CPA just drops by 50% because the offer was so enticing, right? So if I were to rank the hierarchy of variables to look at, ultimately I'll look at your offers number one, then I would ultimately do the post-click process number two, and then I would say the third thing to look at is the creatives. But with media buying and the data points, right, every ecom brand is not the same. So you might have to switch these variables out. You might have to fix your creatives first before you can get to, okay, this is a landing page issue. You have to fix, or you have to have the right creatives, but then see the terrible results post-click to say, okay, this is a post-click issue. You have to optimize the creatives. You have to optimize the landing pages, but you can see the offers not optimized. Then you have to rearrange that order and focus on offers first, right? But those are the three variables that you'd have to change over time. And also, the more time you're spending into the ad account daily, it messes with your head a little bit, because you're always going to try to optimize and tweak stuff that doesn't need to be tweaked. It's just the ad account needs more time to optimize for said audience to get results, right? Similar to like, I compare media buying to like stock trading, or if you're like a day trader or whatever, right? The same guys that always are in front of their screens and just look at data points every single day, it messes with your head. Whereas if you just look in the ad account every two, depending on spend, if you're spending less than, let's say if you're spending like $300, $400, $500 to even 1K a day, you can get away with looking into ad count every 4 to 5 hours. If you're spending like 10K a day on one specific access channel like TikTok, well, then ideally you want to monitor the campaigns every 2 hours, because you might see something drop off and you might need to come in and make tweaks. But what I've noticed in the past is literally you just let the ad count run, check in after 2 to 3 days, from a long-term perspective before you make changes, because as mentioned, um, you need the data points to make the right decisions. And if you make decisions too early, well, then you mess with the ultimate results you could have gained, right? So there's a balance. There's an important balance that you have to keep into account. But that's media buying. That's the game we play. And ultimately, it's very important that you set up third-party attribution like Triple Well, like Northbeam, so that you're making accurate decisions across from what the in-app platform is telling you. So yeah, this is all in the video. This is the media buying strategy that I would focus on if I were you in 2023. And on top of this, possibly even testing other media buying setups or campaign setups. But ideally, it's pretty much the same. It's your audience testing first, then your creative testing, and then you're scaling whatever is winning. And then you just rinse, wash, repeat the cycle. And then from the winning creatives, then you just make iterations on those winners to now pretty much reflect consistent results over time. So if you enjoyed this video, follow me on Twitter, follow me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll drop more and more gems. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this.